We'll be tackling non-horror franchises in this list, as we did a horror version separately. So every once in a while, you come across a film with an interesting world and characters you grow attached to, chomping at the bit to see where their next adventure might lead. Whether or not those franchises have jumped the shark is irrelevant, because it seems like they won't be stopping anytime soon. Our criteria for this list isn't just the number of sequels, reboots, and remakes made, but rather how many parts of a singular continuity. Before we begin, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Every new sub helps us achieve our goal and keeps us motivated to create new content. With that being said, I'm your host, Jamie, and here are 10 longest running film franchises. Number 1, Planet of the Apes. Planet of the Apes is the longest running franchise to date as it expands across decades. The world first saw this story on the silver screen back in 1968 with critical and commercial acclaim. However, the 4 sequels that followed the original were less than to be desired, but still maintained a large fan base. Arthur P. Jacobs produced the original films, and following his passing, 20th Century Fox acquired the rights to the franchise. Unfortunately, the world would not see anything done to this storyline until the abysmal Tim Burton film in 2001, so we'll leave it in the shadows. It wasn't until 2011 that the Planet of the Apes would get a reboot and grace the silver screens once again, gaining new fans and rekindling the fire in the older fans. There's 3 sequels in this reboot as well, further expanding and revitalizing the franchise as a whole. We know the story. Human and apes are on a new planet, and both are fighting to gain control over the other, with love stories, enslavement, war, and everything in between. I promise there's something for everybody in these films. Sure, the main theme throughout its running is about race and inequality and overcoming all odds that are stacked against them. It adds that extra layer to everything that goes on. The franchise has gone on to make over $2 billion worldwide, against a budget of $567.5 million combined. This is a phenomenal story that was originally written by French author Pierre Boulle in 1963 that was adapted superbly. The best way to watch these films is from Rise of the Planet of the Apes and the 3 that follow, then the 1968 Planet of the Apes with those sequels following. I promise there is something for everybody, so grab some blankets and snacks and visit the franchise on Hulu, Max, Disney+, Prime, or Apple TV. Feel free to spend a weekend with some adventure. Number 2, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The MCU is one of the highest grossing franchises to date, ranking in $33.8 billion worldwide, and this being one of my favorite franchises. I can see why. I've always been more of a Marvel girl than any other set of superheroes out there, including DC's. I mean, what's not to love about the franchise? We have Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, the Hulk, Black Widow, Hawkeye, and so many more. Plus, I'm a huge fan of Loki. He's highly misunderstood. Back in 2008, the silver screen was graced by Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark, who becomes Iron Man. His charisma alone is enough to draw you in, and yeah, he's kind of an ass at times, but it works for him. In just a few short years, we had a crossover like nothing Hollywood or the world had ever seen before in the Avengers, which brought all of our characters into a battle against the god of mischief, Loki, finishing Phase 1. Now we currently have 2 different sagas put into phases that have been completed, but don't worry, there will be more. Phase 5 is just about done, which has a release date for Thunderbolts on May 2nd. But then we're gonna get into Phase 6, which will start with the Fantastic Four, the first steps on July 25th. So it's coming up. There's so much to experience and enjoy, and you can head over to Disney Plus to check out the entire adventure. Number 3, James Bond. Writer Ian Fleming first exposed the world to James Bond in 1955 with 12 novels and 2 short stories. Since then, there have been several adaptations, but my favorites are the films that first graced the silver screen in 1962. Dr. No was the first film adaptation of our beloved British Secret Service agent, James Bond, portrayed brilliantly by Sean Connery. Honestly, when I think of 007, I think of Connery, as he so gracefully became the agent who's always fighting for the good and winning the hearts of women all over the world. Many actors have also stepped up to the plate, donning the devilishly good-looking suit, with a charm making most women swoon. However, there's some interesting things we should know about one of the longest-running franchises. James Bond is actually based on other spies. One most notably is the polymath John Dee, who would sign 007 at the end of his letters to Queen Elizabeth I. Bond also gained his 00 status at 38, with only one actor achieving the same, who's also the only one to be younger than the franchise itself, and that is the wonderful Daniel Craig. Speaking of Craig, he also now has a deal with Aston Martin for any car he'd like off the factory line for the rest of his life. I'm actually kind of jealous. Pierce Brosnan became the deadliest Bond, accumulating 47 deaths at his hands, while Roger Moore only has 1 kill under his belt, probably due to his fear of guns. Either which way you go with this franchise, you'll enjoy something out of any of the 25 films spanning decades, which you can check them all out on Fandango, Prime, Google Play, or Apple TV. Number 4, The Fast and the Furious. 2001 brought us The Fast and the Furious, as a bunch of street racers are stealing trucks full of goods and getting into trouble with rival teams. A cop infiltrates our main crew, and it ends up changing his life and the crew's lives forever. Let's be real for a moment. The series has gone from the crew who aren't necessarily bad to a completely outlandish set of adventures that seem more and more implausible. That doesn't take away from the action, explosions, and the need to protect our families from anything that may harm them. We all know our characters: Vin Diesel as Dom, Michelle Rodriguez as Letty, Jordana Brewster as Mia, Tyrese Gibson as Roman, Ludacris as Tej, Sung Kang as Han, and the late Paul Walker as Brian. The franchise suffered a great loss in 2013 when Walker tragically lost his life, and unfortunately, Furious 7 was put on hold. The film would release 2 years later as Walker's brother stepped up to the plate and helped bring the film to a close. I have to be honest, I have no real idea what happens after Furious 7, because my heart was in it for Mia and Brian's relationship. Sure, Letty and Dom had a great relationship as well, but felt more forced than anything, and their story doesn't really stay consistent. Plus, Brian and Mia got out, started their family, and were happy. Also, due to a bit of a scattered story not releasing how it should have been, it got a bit confusing and certain things just didn't add up. Then we also got a spin-off movie following Luke Hobbs, played by Dwayne Johnson, and Deckard Shaw, played by Jason Statham, which takes place between the Fate of the Furious and F9, entitled Hobbs and Shaw. But don't worry, we will post a chronological list on our Discord, so head there to find your list and check out the entire franchise on Max, Hulu, Sling, Prime, Google Play, Apple TV, or Fandango. Number 5, Mission Impossible. Bruce Geller originally came up with the concept for Mission Impossible in 1966, with a television series that aired until 1973, which also got another 2 seasons in 1988. In 1996, we got our first Mission Impossible film starring Tom Cruise as Ethan Hunt in all 9 films. This is the 17th highest grossing film of all times, and is often said that this is one of the greatest franchises of all time, even though it took until 2024 to get any Academy Award nominations for Best Visual Effects and Best Sound for Dead Reckoning Part 1. Each film sees Ethan completing missions that are said to be impossible, but he always manages to save the day. I will say, Paramount had an interesting idea on marketing for the third film, which involved audio players in vending machines that would play the theme song when it opened. But problems occurred and fear took over as the players would randomly drop out of the vending machines and people would confuse them for actual bombs, causing the LAPD to blow one of the stands up. Before that, in the first film, notice how many Apple computers there are? Well, Apple paid $15 million to only have their computers in the film, making for one of the biggest marketing campaigns for them. Kinda genius in a way. Many stunts happen in these films, and sometimes the actors had to withstand various things, such as 140-mile-per-hour winds while on top of a train. While there is a lot of weirdness surrounding Cruise, his devotion to his craft is amazing, especially considering he did climb the tallest building in the world without a stunt double, which I have to say would be a no-go for me. Cruise has gone on to produce each of the films and are a fantastic adventure that you can enjoy on Paramount Plus, Roku, Prime, Google Play, Apple TV, or Fandango. Number 6, Godzilla. We recently did a video about Godzilla's enemies, which was quite interesting. Godzilla is a prehistoric giant reptile who got woken up and due to nuclear radiation gained a lot of power. While we do see Godzilla trying to destroy the world in various films, he also comes to the rescue, even being children's hero. The film first premiered in 1954 and is still going strong today, which earned itself a place in the Guinness World Records for the longest continuously running film series, and is widely known for Japanese culture. Our lovable kaiju has maintained a certain style, but as time has gone on and technology advancing, Godzilla has become more refined. Godzilla has been such an icon for many decades and has all kinds of merchandise. But in 2004, Godzilla earned his own star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. I found it really interesting to know that Godzilla is a registered citizen of Japan. So let's keep him happy, even though he'd never eat a human. With everything that goes on in these films, we have to address Godzilla's appearance a little more, as he's typically rough and scaly, but honestly, they're inspired by keloid scars that victims of the Hiroshima bombing had, giving a whole new perspective to nuclear war and what can happen. Again, aligning with some of the heavier political themes throughout most of the films. Make sure to enjoy this classic tale from start to finish over on Max, Tubi, Pluto, Netflix, Prime, Apple TV, or Fandango. Number 7, Star Trek. Gene Roddenberry first created Star Trek in 1966, which instantly became a pop culture phenomenon, expanding decades and media outlets. There are TV shows, video games, novels, comic books, and most notably, films. With 13 films under the name, we have gone on so many adventures, interacted with all sorts of aliens and life forms, all while traveling through the unknown. Which if you watched everything, it would take you 650 hours or 27 full days. An impressive feat, but the films alone wouldn't be that long. The original film series has 6 films under its belt, releasing from 1979 until 1991. The Next Generation followed shortly after, first releasing in 1994, with the 4th film in this era releasing in 2002. Then 7 short years later, a reboot was released simply titled Star Trek, with 2 sequels. Critics and audiences loved the adventures and the crew throughout the series, which should be noted that Star Trek has been nominated for many Academy Awards. However, it only won one with Best Makeup in 2009. It's interesting to find that William Shatner thought the project would fail, but he later admitted that he's glad the franchise has continued to embrace fans, both young and old, to embrace the journey into space. Spock was also close to being cut out of the franchise as producers and networks were afraid he looked satanic. but he's become an icon. Leonard Nimoy is Spock. No matter if you've seen any of the films or TV shows, you'll know who he is. And he's also the creator of the Vulcan salute. Travel your way on over to Paramount Plus and enjoy the adventure. Number 8, Star Wars. I remember seeing some of these films as a kid at the drive-in theater with my sister and mom, and I was instantly hooked. George Lucas created this universe in 1977 with Star Wars 4: A New Hope, and the world was taken aback. The life of a Jedi, fighting the Republic, the evil Darth Vader, and so many more things that could fill up your mind with wonders. In 1980, The Empire Strikes Back was released, followed by Return of the Jedi in 1983, which became the original trilogy. We followed Luke, Leia, Han, and Chewie to right the wrongs of the way things are. In Episode 5, we learn that Darth Vader is Luke's father. And the line is, "No, I am your father." Vader never said, "Luke, I am your father," but I digress. It should also be noted that Harrison Ford was kind of an accidental casting, as Lucas wanted somebody unknown, but just couldn't find the right fit. But loved how Ford delivered lines to potential candidates. This world would be halted for the foreseeable future as Lucas wanted more technology advancements so he could continue creating his world. So in 1999, Episode 1, The Phantom Menace was released, with most people I've talked to focusing way too much on the oddities of Jar Jar Binks. He was funny and naive, but provided the right kind of comedic break to an otherwise serious tone. The series concluded in 2019 with Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker, where we see Rey, who's training under Luke and Leia to become a Jedi. And at the end of the film, she buries their lightsabers on Tatooine and gives the name of Rey Skywalker, making sure to bring herself into their line. These films really do go into a lot of depth, and you'll have fun checking them all out. So head on over to Disney Plus to witness the adventure. Number 9, Rocky. Considered to be one of the best sports films ever, we first got a look at Rocky Balboa in 1976, as he's a small-time boxer with plenty of potential to make it to become the next heavyweight champion. All these films follow the titular character who went from small time to the big leagues, and how he had to overcome adversities and challenges. After the 2006 film Rocky Balboa, we get a spin-off series following Apollo Creed's son, Adonis, in 2015's Creed, which has currently 2 sequels. Rocky was first written by Sylvester Stallone and starred as the titular character in each film, with a star-studded cast featuring Burt Young, Carl Weathers, Burgess Meredith, Mr. T, and Michael B. Jordan. The 1976 film won 3 Academy Awards, including Best Picture, Best Director, and Best Editing. I give Stallone a lot of credit for writing this film, as he wrote it in 3 days, using Chucky Wepner as inspiration, who is a real boxer back then, even though Stallone's story would not make it to the big screen. The film only took 28 days to complete and had a modest budget of $1 million. Stallone, at the time of filming, just recently got his dog Butkus back after he had to sell him for $40 and paid about $3,000 for his return. And the dog was able to appear in the film. This is also one of the first films to use the Steadicam, as it was difficult and disorienting to use a traditional camera, bringing on a whole new way of shooting those extra shots and securing the punches for everybody to see. Witness the fights on Prime, Netflix, Paramount Plus, MGM Plus, Pluto, Apple TV, or Fandango. Number 10, Harry Potter. The 4th highest grossing franchise, only behind the MCU, Spider-Man, and Star Wars, we get these film adaptations from the novels written by J.K. Rowling. Now, there's a lot of controversy surrounding her at the moment, but we won't get into that. We're just here for the wizarding world that has graced our screens since 2001. We first met Harry just after his parents' death when he's a baby, And then we meet him again just before his 11th birthday, where a curious thing keeps happening, causing his uncle to lose his mind. Letters come flying into their home from just about every opening, telling Harry he's been accepted to Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. From there, the shenanigans start to unfold as he meets two other people who become his best friends and help him battle the evil wizard Voldemort. We saw that final battle in 2011 in Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2, and a nice closing to their tale. However, in 2016, we take a step back into the series and in time as we learn about the Fantastic Beasts and where to find them. There were 3 films in this short series and was abruptly ended due to the accusations and trial against Johnny Depp. With the TV series setting to release next year, I have to say, I don't know how I'm going to react to some of these characters being portrayed by other actors. My biggest one is Severus Snape, as Alan Rickman had all the ins and outs of the character, knowing more than any other actor for their role. But Rickman embodied Snape, giving him that edge and dark tone, slowly revealing that the love of his life was Harry's mom, even caring about Harry and what happens to him as time goes on. Either which way, it's a great fantasy with a phenomenal cast and a lot of adventures into our wizarding world that you can enjoy over on Peacock, Max, Hulu, Roku, Prime, Google Play, Apple TV, or Fandango. Thanks for checking out the video. Did we leave any films off the list? Let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to tap that bell icon to stay up to date with our latest releases. You can reach out to us on Twitter or X at StudiosFat, or chat with us on Discord, linked below. We're also now on Blue Sky. You can find us at studiosfat.bsky.social, which will also link below. If you're really enjoying our content and want to help support us, click that join button for exclusive content, rewards, and perks. Make sure to check out our very own merch store located at fatninja.shop. All proceeds go towards our next film project, so we'd greatly appreciate it. I've been your host, Jamie. Thanks again. See you in the next one.